Hey folks, this is Ben from Road to VR here at E3 2018, and I'm at the Alienware booth where I'm talking with Ru from Ready at Dawn about Echo Combat and I guess all things VR. So what is it that you're showing here at the show today?
So we're showing Echo Combat. We're about a week away from open beta right now, and after our last closed beta, we decided to actually bring it to the show floor to have players actually coming to E3 play.
Okay. And so for people who haven't had a chance to play it yet, I mean, what is Echo Combat all about? What's it like?
Echo Combat is our kind of expansion on the Echo VR universe. We started off with Lone Echo, single player story, Echo Arena, a sports game, a team-based sports game, and our next iteration was always going to be this kind of first-person shooter, but in our environment, not the traditional one that you expect, but very much based around like the lore that we built, the kind of like the more light-hearted kind of feel of some of the stuff that we've done, but as well as actually building that team mechanic and the social side of VR, kind of reinforcing that through the gameplay as well.
And can you give me just the basic breakdown of how a match of Echo Combat, how it plays?
So Echo Combat starts actually in the same place that all of our games start in many ways. It starts in the lobby, in the Echo VR lobby. So you get there, you meet people, we hope that you make new friends over there, and then you decide what you want to play. You can go play Echo Arena, or you decide to go play Echo Combat. And you go to a match-making terminal, decide to play Echo Combat with multiple people, you get taken from that lobby into our Echo Combat arena, our map. The first thing you do is actually start in the war room, and your war room is basically where your team is going to gather and discuss strategies. You're also going to get your loadouts. You have choice of 3 different weapons that you can use right now. You have the choice of doing 2 different powers, or I would say a secondary, ability that you would have, and a grenade as well that you can use. And you choose what kind of loadout you want. What we did with Echo Combat is that we very much built it along the lines of what people wanted to do rather than dictating to them what they want to do. That's the reason why there are no classes. So you decide who you want to play. You have a map there, and you can see where the other team is preparing, for the combat. And really, the whole game is about 2 teams. One trying to take a payload from start to end, and the other team trying to stop that payload from arriving to its destination before the time runs out.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see this mix of kind of zero gravity and FPS. I think Lone Echo and Echo Arena demonstrated a very novel and effective locomotion system. At the time, I remember some people saying, yeah, it's really neat, but it could only work for this kind of game. But now you guys are introducing guns into it. What challenges did you have to overcome to make those 2 things mesh together?
Well, there was one big challenge at the very beginning, and I think people will see it straight away when they play the game. It was that whole idea of like, all right, if I use my hands to navigate, how do I shoot? And our first instinct was, all right, do we make this a tactical shooter? Do we make it more of a strategic shooter? Do we make it more open for everybody to play? So we went with different ideas. One of the very first ones was using weapons in your hand that you can actually equip. That means that you would hold weapons, different kinds of weapons, and you could equip them and shoot. But then we quickly realized that it went against the idea of why our movement mechanic kind of was something that people adapted to and loved. So we decided the guns need to be integrated. They needed to actually be part of your hands. And that, for example, was the first, I want to say 3-4 months of work, was really spent between that struggle on whether or not to go traditional FPS with weapons that you equip and that you can carry multiple with, or do we go with something that is integrated to your robot body?
And of course you ended up on the ladder, now the guns are attached to your hand, letting you still climb.
Yes.
But there are still some things that you kind of have on your body, some tools you can use.
Yeah.
You talked about the grenades. Here at E3, we're seeing a new grenade that we didn't see in the closed beta and a new ability. What are those 2 things?
So the grenades, you get 2 types of grenades. One actually is just a regular kind of concussive grenade that will explode and damage people around you. And that has a certain area of effect. And there's a second grenade that is actually almost like an EMP. You throw it out there and it will disable people. It won't damage them, but what it does allow is that during that disable time, you're able to approach them, go into combat at a closer range, and if you have a shotgun, for example, take them down very easily. So we build really cool combos that way with the different grenades that you use. On the ability side, we have 3 different abilities, basically one being the heal ability. You can heal all of your teammates, and of course, those will regenerate over time. You use the ability once, and you're able to basically like regenerate everybody in a certain area of effect. Then you also have a shield that allows you to at least keep a position and try to defend yourself. It's extremely good, especially when you're the defending team and you're the attacking team coming in with their payload. You can kind of stop them at certain choke points. And the last ability is the sensor, and that sensor allows you to basically see people behind anything in the map. What's really useful about that again is that when you're the attacking team and you have a sensor, you can basically be on your payload, send the sensor out in front of you, and then make sure that you're prepared for for where the people are hiding.
Yeah. And now you said from the closed beta, you guys got a lot of feedback. How much do you think things will change from the closed beta to not just the open beta, but till the end? I mean, do you feel like things are pretty locked down and it's just subtle refinements, or I mean, is there a chance we see something like a whole new weapon or a different game type, that kind of thing?
So I would tell you that the closed beta really kind of validated a lot of things that we wanted to do. So we definitely felt that at least it gave us kind of a good grounding of knowing that the basics of the game are sound and they're functional and they work really well. So we're going to keep on refining those, absolutely. But one of the things that also we're going to do is add to the game. One goal that we always had was, especially Echo Combat, was going to be a game that was going to start with the closed beta, with a subset of things that you had. And you see today we've already added a couple more things. And the goal really is by launch of the game at the end of the year, that we actually put something together that has more functionality, potentially more modes, but more ways to play the game. Really build this into a way where you get into the game, you play the way you want to on kind of the map that you want to and the mode that you want to.
And I know that you guys are a great studio. You've learned a lot through the development process of Lone Echo. That fed into Echo Arena. That fed into Echo Combat. Is some of what you're doing now in Echo Combat pointing toward things that you might end up doing further down the road? I know that you guys are working on more VR projects. Any thoughts on where that stuff's headed? Absolutely.
I think one of the things that we found out with that is that with every game we've done since the start of the studio, we learn, right? Everything is a learning lesson. You kind of put it out there for people to play, but the best thing for the team is always to actually look at your wins and your losses and try to figure out how do you leverage those in the future. How do you basically take something that didn't work out too well and make it better for the future, or take something that is really cool, but put it in a completely different kind of light. That happened with the movement model. The movement model, I would tell you, started off from a very simple idea of an immersive experience in zero-G in space. It turned into a sports game. It's now turned into an FPS. So we're currently exploring a lot of ideas that would guide things that we haven't seen in VR. In the future, we hope to actually address certain things that we see today that we take for granted, maybe that are not possible in VR. But we're very much looking to breaking those boundaries and seeing how we can do things that have not been done yet and kind of move the medium forward.
And so I believe it's been said that for Lone Echo, which people loved, you guys said there will be something more. Are we looking at a whole new game or something like DLC? I mean, what are your plans there?
Well, we don't have much to say about it, I would tell you right now. I would tell you that there is a lot behind the story of Jack and Liv that we want to keep on exploring. There's more to that story, there's more to what happens after you finish Lone Echo, there's more to things that happened to them before. We're trying to figure out really like how best to leverage not only the IP, but what people are expecting of this in the future. We haven't decided really yet what that truly is going to be, as in like, if it's just going to be just an add-on or more. We truly hope that actually it's going to be probably an experience that is as satisfying as the one that you've had in the past, if not more.
Okay. And you're now starting to kind of accumulate these things around in this universe, right? So now we've got two different, basically, games that you can play right from the Echo Arena space, the Frisbee, Ultimate Frisbee and Zero-G, and Echo Combat FPS. Lone Echo is almost an equally, it's not attached to the same lobby, but it's a similar experience and a different activity. Do you see just continuing to kind of add to this kind of more cohesive experience rather than siloing people out? Because I think one of the things people love about Echo Combat and Echo Arena, the lobby, there's something special about being in there with people just floating around before you're doing the main thing you came to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I would tell you this, that one of the biggest discoveries, we've talked to you in the past about it, was the social aspect of VR. Kind of breaking certain boundaries that we're so accustomed to in playing games, whether it was through a screen, a TV screen, just a controller, a keyboard, and a mouse. VR opened a new door to the way you perceive a player inside the world that you inhabit and the game you're going to play. The lobby for us was kind of an eye-opener, because at the very beginning it was more of a staging area. Then it went from a staging area to being kind of a focal point for people to come in and play, just as you said it. So for us, expanding the Echo universe doesn't mean adding a game. It means expanding an experience for a person who enters, as you said, the lobby. Enter Echo VR and decide. Do you want to hang around and just like play with some friends in there? There's a few things to do already there. Do you want to go outside and play a game? Do you want to choose to actually do a sports game, a combat game, and who knows in the future? But our goal is definitely to kind of view this more as a single world that is going to keep on giving back to the players as the years go on.
Okay. So, I mean, we saw that lobby space evolve recently, and you guys are still continuing thinking about evolving that space over time.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot more that we would love to do. It's just a question of, again, what we feel is necessary for the world. We'll never want to add just things extraneously that don't belong, but we definitely see that there is validity in what we see in the lobby when we ourselves go against some players over there, and we see them interact, and we feel like, oh, you know what, it'll be really cool if we added this part of the lobby. So we're always evaluating that. I'm not sure exactly what the next big things are going to be. We're discussing a few things internally, but we definitely hope that it's going to become more than just a staging area. It's already become more than a staging area. It becomes a social gathering spot.
Yeah, and so safe to say that, I mean, the long-term future is you guys are continuing to work on VR, is that correct?
Yeah, I think VR is an amazing actually medium purely because we've learned so much in the last 3 years of being in VR that we can see ourselves kind of detaching from it because we'd lose part of who we become as a studio.
Very interesting. Well, thank you, Ru.